Good evening and you're welcome to Joint Caucus on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Jifa Bampo, and Joint Caucus is the program that brings together the two leading political parties. They will be looking at the issues that matter as we sail towards the polls in November. They will be debating the issues. They will be raising the concerns and why either of them should be considered for Flagstaff House in 2017. So we'll be casting that vote on November 7th. My name is Jifa Bampo, and today we'll be taking a look at how the campaign has gathered pace. As some of you may be aware, President John Mahama has been in the Eastern region accounting to the people, and that ended yesterday. We'll be taking a review of how that has gone. However, it is common knowledge that there are some who have criticized the Mahama administration, saying that they've not done enough for the Eastern region. Critical topmost is about the construction of roads. Those are the issues we'll be looking at, as well as some of the issues raised during the Minority and Majority Caucus this week. Do make a date and stay with us. And you're welcome to Joint Caucus here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, this week, the Minority Caucus took a look at their achievements, the Mahama administration's achievements in the areas of health. And for the NPP, they took a look at their fundraising activities as they launched a new strategy to mobilize funds to oil their 2016 campaign. However, John Mahama, the president, was also in the Eastern region accounting to the people. He visited Afriyie. He also visited the chiefs of Odumase, and he also outdoored a new ferry. We'll be talking about all that now, but let's welcome our guest in the studio, Nana Afriyie Oforiata. He is the Eastern Region NPP Vice Chair. He's also a member of the party's communication team. Good evening, Nana Afriyie, and thank you for coming in.
My privilege.
All right, and
it's second vice chair.
Second vice chair.
Political positions
are very important. So I guess with the launch of the NPP's fundraising, platforms, can we say that your campaign kicks off in earnest?
Well, it's kicked off already. The fundraising is important to what we're doing, as you know, and then for anybody who hasn't really given thinking space to it. Politics requires quite a bit of money, especially when it's a democratic process, because you need to get to places, talk to people, you need to do your posters, T-shirts, what have you. You need to pay the media so that they put you on air.
Not necessarily.
Oh, really? You'll do it for free? Anytime. Wherever you are, they said they'll do it for free. So you need to do all those things. Sometimes your activists need to get fed and all that. So you need money. And so these platforms that we've created, the app, the card, the SMS, the cluster thing, all of them are ways of everybody participating.
Can you tell us how it works to start with?
I must confess I haven't totally mastered the process, but for example, with the card, the scratch card, it's your typical scratch card with a Kufuado and Baumia on it. You scratch it. If it's worth 2 CDs, you're actually donating 1 CD.
Okay.
If it's worth 10 CDs, you're donating 5. If it's 20, you're donating 10. So those are the denominations that you have. And those are, I guess, the most accessible ones. And the feedback also registers that you're getting some form of a receipt, an endorsement that says that you've gotten it. Then there's the SMS bit.
Where you SMS to a short code.
Yes, I think the number is 12012 or something like that. I'll verify and get back to you. So you do that, and then you also get the same thing. It goes through a process that lets you know that you've been issued some form of a receipt that acknowledges that you've helped us. The cluster is to do with groups, and that one you have to go through a bit of a register process.
So that means group associations that belong to the party?
Or no.
Or any
this is open to everybody.
That's
why we publicized it. Yes, okay. It's available to everybody. That's why we publicized it. And then there's the app, which you can get on your phone. So wherever you are, you can also get involved in doing that. Bottom line is everybody is invited to support. We need change in the country. We know what the country is going through. If you want it and you believe that Nana Akufo-Addo, I believe just about everybody who's feeling the pinch would rather go for the Akufo-Addo option, and we're glad for that.
It seems to be a different strategy from what many people know. There's a belief that the NPP has some, good number of, money bags who are able to fund the
money
campaign.
bags are everybody. Anybody who's got the 1 seat is a money bag when it comes to campaign. So you need to get all the support you can. And it's a way of also getting or mobilizing people to get involved. That's your way of supporting. There's some people who would like to be like, who can be like people like us. They want to be activists up in the front. There are others who don't really care to do the activist politics, but they can help with their, widow's mite. Whatever size that mite is, they'll help with it. So everybody's invited. We need to do this work.
In terms of funding then, I guess, is it fair to say that it's more difficult, obviously, when you're in opposition to fund your campaigns?
That is a good argument. I mean, one can't deny the fact that when you're in office, it's more attractive for people to want to support you, especially if they think that you meet their interests on that level. But there's the truth that it technically shouldn't be that way, but it is. That's the politics of Ghana, and so we have to work with that. But the fact is that whichever way you go, ultimately it's about people's commitment to a particular principle or what have you. And in our case, we're looking at everybody who can support us. There's some minimum of 5 million out there who in one form or the other can help. Some can by walking and talking, others can by supporting. Whichever size money is respected and will be appreciated.
And speaking of funding campaigns, the President, John Mahama, has been accounting to the people in the Eastern region. Let's welcome Samonate George, NDC parliamentary candidate for Ningo Pram. He's also a presidential staffer. And as the President goes on this, or has wrapped up this second leg of the accounting to the people, so when we've been talking about fundraising, one then may ask, who is paying for that?
Well, let me say a very good evening to our viewers, to yourself and to my brother. The President is carrying out his duty as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic and President of the Republic of Ghana. And so his activities, be it to sit in the office or to visit disaster victims or to inaugurate a health project or a water project, as enshrined by the Constitution, is borne by the state. And that is what the President is doing. The President has not started his campaigning yet. The NDC has not started his campaigning yet.
So, Mr. George, you're saying that in accounting to the people and commissioning these entities, it's not a subtle or thin line between what the President is doing as President and as presidential candidate?
Absolutely not. There's no subtlety here. If you take, the President is just being a man of his word. He's showing that he has integrity, which is something which is very scarce today in our body politics. If you take our manifesto, which was the social contract he presented to the people in the lead up to the 2012 election, he spoke about investing in people. He spoke about building a strong and resilient economy. He spoke about infrastructural, expanding the infrastructural base. He's done all of those things. Those were the first three pillars. The fourth pillar of our manifesto, which was our social contract, was a transparent and an accountable government. He's run transparency in his governance system. That's why when, take for example, the whistleblower mentioned the National Service Secretariat scheme. He didn't cover it up. He ran a transparent system, made the BNI investigate it publicly, and informed the states about it. Now it is down to accountability. It is in fulfillment of his mandate. The Ghanaian people gave him the mandate to lead this country, to serve us as our president, on the belief or in the belief that apart from investing in people and expanding infrastructure and building a strong and resilient economy, he was going to run a transparent government and come back and account to them. He's accounting to them. When he's done with his 10 regional tour of accounting to the people and saying to them that this is what I've done with the mandate you gave to me, this is what I promised to do for you in my manifesto, I'm done. this is what I have done.
So only after the 10 region tour will his campaign kick off?
We would get into, well, I can't say if it's going to kick off immediately, but I expect that by the time he's done with the 10 regional tour, we will get into the campaign season. Don't forget that His Excellency is still president till 7th of January. He has a duty, 2017, he has a duty to the people of this country to serve them as such. And so until and unless our campaign team has been outdoored, there's no manifesto. You will run a campaign for 2016 election.
Mr. George, you cannot deny that the president's being out there, being a candidate, which is well known to everyone, obviously puts him out there.
Your president has been out there from day one. You should know your president better. Your president has been out there from day one, going around the country, interacting with people. This is not unique. This is not the first time. In fact, what the president did last year was he actually allowed the Governance for the People Forum to precede that accountability thing. And so if you looked at the schedule last year, the Ministry of Communications ran the Government for the People Forum, which was a forum where we went and accounted to the people, said to them what we have done on behalf of His Excellency the President, those of us at the Ministry of Communication, and we got feedback, which we brought back to the Office of the President, which has been worked on. In fact, in the G4P forums that went round, the final one in Greater Accra region, His Excellency himself was at the function to account to the people and say, like, this is what we have done so far. So this is not something which is new. Every year that marks his ascension to office, since the 7th of January 2013, you realize he holds a press soiree where he fields questions, where he accounts to the media. And so this is the kind of president you have. Okay. A president who accounts to his people, who accounts for his stewardship. And so let's not confuse this with a campaign. When we start our campaign, you will know a campaign has been started.
I see. Now, the president was in Afriyie. He visited the chiefs and people of Odumase.
Yes.
He also outdoored the new ferry. Over the 3-day period, what's your general assessment of how the tour went?
I'm in awe of the president's appeal to the people, because you look at the eastern region, which has traditionally not been a stronghold for the NDC, calling a spade, and you look at the ambition of the NDC in that region to have what they call Chimpe 50-50 in this election, and you look at the president's 3-day stint in the Eastern region and the outpouring. You see, you have cosmetic things in politics. People do a lot of cosmetic things. This outreach or this tour by the president.
You say the response was genuine.
It's absolutely genuine. I mean, when the president went to, he went down the new Adami Bridge, and he was coming back to our Frimpong from Frimpong, and he was stopped by the women, the hawkers. They blocked the road because they said they wanted to speak to him and let him know that they're grateful for the work he had done on the Adami Bridge. The period when the bridge had its problems, their sales dwindled. Many of them had children dropping out of school. The president promised to fix that bridge. He met that promise. He fixed that bridge. Traffic is back on that road again. The commercial activity around it is working. In Kweuman, where he met the chief there, the chief extempore listed all the projects His Excellency had promised in 2012 and went on to give the status and said to him that, Mr. President, you said you do this, you've done this. You said you do this, you've done this. You said you do this, it is under construction. You said you do this, it is under construction. We expect you to complete those projects for us, but we're grateful for what you have done for us. Severally, there's a road that links between Kweuman and then Ebirim to the Nkoko bypass. When the president was using that road, the contractor on the road, his workers blocked the road and stopped the president's convoy. They said they wanted to say thank you to His Excellency the President, because they know the effect that road is having on the lives of the people there. Severally,
okay, I guess
the president was stopped along the road.
You've indicated that
it was a genuine outpouring.
You say it's a
yes,
genuine
I mean, Kufuribia
outpouring.
Polytechnic, it was beautiful.
Okay,
you
let
know,
me bring
outpouring
in Nana Afriyie of Furiata, who is Eastern Region Second Vice Chairperson. I'm sure you monitored the tour. You come from the area as well. What's your assessment?
Well, I was monitoring till he used the helicopter to avoid some of the roads and all that. So I missed that part. He was in the air and we couldn't figure it out till he landed. But otherwise, yes, we did monitor. And see, First of all, we need to recognize that it is a campaign that Mr. Mahama is on.
So for you, you disagree that this is about the president
It's not even
accounting
about
to the
agreeing,
people,
because then it's as if you have to
accounting
debate
to the
it.
people,
Yeah.
and on the pillar of transparent and accountable governance.
Yeah, it's a campaign, nothing else. Listen to the words he uses. You know, this is what we want to do when you give us power and all that. He's using all the campaign words. It's a campaign. There's nothing in it. And therefore, what we've then recognized is that you're using state funds and state time to do your campaign thing. People want to deal with that, they should, because that's part of the accountability process of governance.
But what's the alternative? He certainly has to commission...
No, so say it and let people know, then we're clear. Don't go under certain guise of something and that's not there, and do it. And then let people understand that. Don't pretend. You're on a campaign, that's what you're doing. There's no doubt about it, nothing else. 2, what is accounting about? You're checking your what are the terms, the technical terms for accounting, your incomes and your expenditure, or the negatives and the positives of what you've done with your budget and all that. So far it's all about commissioning all the so-called positives and talking about things that haven't happened and that will happen. What's that?
What are the lapses
I mean,
for you?
Well,
because there's now a ferry. We know that people did not have a ferry. We know the Adomi Bridge was closed for a long time. That has been done. He's now we have Koforidua Technical University.
These are things that existed already. If you come and do a maintenance job and you think that we should jump, hurrah, that's not the point. I don't think that's what governance is about. Governance is not just about doing a maintenance job. It's about coming up with new ideas and then dealing with the real issues. So the
the region.
Yeah, so the first instance is that, let's put things in context. Mr. Mahama is not doing a regular type
government business.
Yeah, he's campaigning. That's what it is. 1. 2, the instances on the ground. I unfortunately forgot to bring my green book. I happen to have a copy. There are at least 2, whatever you'd like, projects highlighted in the green book that are not on the ground. At least 2. I wish I had it, because then I'd be able to mention them directly to you. But they're in the Kade area, and I think it's the Kade area, and I think even in Afram Plains or so. They don't exist, but they're documented in some form. I don't know where they got the picture from, but it's in the book. That's questionable. They're talking about things that aren't happening on the ground. You spend a lot of time going to a place like Koforidua Polytechnic. As far as I've been made to understand, so I stand corrected. The project in Koforidua Polytechnic existed already. It was a refurbishment business and an expansion business, and the expansion is not complete. They've done a portion. The building exists, and it was actually put up by President Kufuor's government. They've done an expansion and added equipment and what have you. The rest of the project hasn't been completed. I stand corrected, but that's what I've been told. So what did you go and do exactly? What's striking about that? Now, let's go into sector areas. What's the agriculture situation in this country? Zeroing on Eastern region. What's the agriculture situation in Eastern region? How is cocoa doing in Eastern region? What have you done about it? If Nananum hadn't gone around, and when Nananum went around complaining about the roads, and the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs, was it last year? They went around to highlight the fact that the government needed to pay attention to the roads. What was the response? The response was the Eastern Regional Chairman of the NDC insulting them, total insults, calling them, who do you think you are, transport minister and things like that. The president didn't say anything, neither did the party NDC outside of him. They went to, as we stand now, what is the real status of roads? There are roads there that haven't been dealt with, that are key. The easiest one that comes to mind is
bypass.
The one from Nsawam, to go up as far as Kade. And if you go to the Ofuansi area where he went, I wonder which part of the route he used to get to Ofuansi, because the road is rough. There's certain portions that are just totally out of order. Now, in a place like Kade, why do you need the roads to be good? Some of our best oranges come from Kade. Then that's just one item. And a host of other things. You can imagine people have to trade on that route. All the way, we're talking, the road runs from Nsawam through Adesu to Samankesi to Kade.
But the
Akwatia
Adesu
and
roads have been done.
Adesu.
Yes.
Which portion of Adesu? Because I was just there. Which portion? Just some small, right through the town. We're talking about the route that gets people working. In those parts, really, if it's not work, they don't really go anywhere. You know that. It's not like you and I sitting in Accra and we can get to Tema and all those places and we want to do whatever it is that makes us happy. We're talking about work routes for these people. What's happening there? We should go check them out. That's infrastructure, and that's just one of them.
So you mentioned you mentioned infrastructure, yes. And now, I'll give you a final point, then I can go back.
Very well. Let's talk water. Go to Nsawam. Recently, I believe your station covered that story as well.
But we all know that the Nsawam water situation has been corrected.
Has it?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure? Call the Member of Parliament, because he's telling me that it hasn't. In fact, there was a grant for 11 million euros from Belgium for the project. As far as it stands now, it's not there. The water thing is not solved.
You are talking about a treatment plant which should be built.
It's not there. 11 million euros given by Belgium. Now the government has been told to account for it. It's outstanding. They can't. Meanwhile, if you did, you'd get an extra 5 to do whatever else that has to go with the project. So what's happening? We need to know these things.
All right. So
if you go to, even in agriculture, same in Nsawam, Blue Skies employs some 4,000 or so people, including outgrowers. The outgrowers, if they're taken care of by the state and the government, their production will do very well. What's happening there? Let's talk about that.
All right, so we're talking about agriculture in the Eastern region, talking about infrastructure, specifically roads mainly, and also...
I haven't even touched on education.
And also the water situation. Well, you can join us on the program. You can send to our social media platforms, facebook.com/joynewstv. You can also do WhatsApp, and the number is 0560 800 000. I'll repeat the number. It's 0560 800 000. We have some shots of some of the things that President Mahama has been doing in the Eastern region. We'll bring that to you once we get a response from Samuel Nate George. So responses to the issues he's been raising about the water. Yes, we know some water has been flowing in Nsawam, but it is also true that there's this, water treatment plant station that's supposed to be built, and the Ghana Water Company was queried about that matter. We also know that the roads issue still remains a controversial one.
Well, it appears that the second vice chair of the NPP in the Eastern region hasn't been briefed properly on a lot of issues, because most of the things he alludes to, he says, well, he stands to be corrected. That is what he's been told. His Excellency did not just go and commission refurbished buildings, as he seeks to put it out. Okay, the Koforidua University of Technology, as it stands now, got a brand new engineering faculty building. It wasn't a refurbished building. Again, when His Excellency was in the Eastern region in Donkokrom, he commissioned the second campus for the Eastern University. So that's again is something, and the first campus already is in Krobo area. So you realize that this is actual work that His Excellency is putting in there. In the Betifi area, you have the district hospital, which is coming up, just like it's the same structure as what was commissioned recently in Dodowa, because it's the same project that is ongoing, that again is going to deliver sustainable healthcare, high first-class healthcare to the people of that district and its surrounding areas. When he talks about the water situation, you see, His Excellency in 3 days cannot possibly have taught all the things that we have done in the Eastern region. But clearly, he highlights the Nsawam problem, which we all know was as a result of some of the illegal minings, which some of the chiefs from the Eastern region have been found culpable for or of supporting in some of the reports that we have heard. And so, but we are fighting the menace of illegal mining, which is affecting the water bodies, which created a problem in Nsawam. You could have a treatment plant there, but if you have a treatment plant there, and this is not to excuse Ghana Water for not completing that project, but if you have a treatment plant there and the water body itself is extremely polluted, what purpose do you serve? If you want to talk about water, and you talk about the 5 district water project that supplies water to Oboming and Chebi and all of those areas, it was done under President Mahama. He brought water to those areas. He says he wanted to go into education. Yes, the people Achimebwakwa. They got a 6-unit classroom block under President John Mahama's administration, along with several schools on the trees that have been eradicated in the Eastern region under this time. When it comes to roads, I mean, it will be just sheer ungratefulness, and it would border on speaking the untruth if you seek to paint a picture that the Eastern region has been neglected in roads. You remember that at a certain point in time.
We have some visuals of the president touring some worker ongoing.
I believe at this time last year, one of the major refrains for the NPP on every program was the Suhum and Sawam stretch of the road.
Yes, and that has
They have gone quiet because it's been fixed.
Is it fully complete?
Absolutely not. I will not suggest it has been.
And
but
I must say, though, that portion was a very troublesome portion. People got attacked on that portion.
Sure.
When it rained, they got stuck there.
Sure. Do you still have those problems today?
We've not had recent.
You don't have those problems.
But it's taken too long to have that road complete.
Jaffa, absolutely. But who do you give credit to? The man who fixed the problem. That's the one. That's all that matters to us. We don't care who didn't fix it and who was supposed to fix it and didn't fix it. What we care about is who fixed the problem for us. John Mahama is the fixer. He fixed the problem for us. The Suhum and Sawam stretch had always been a major speaking point for MPP communicators. You have the second vice chair sit here, and he couldn't speak about it because it's been fixed. It's been fixed. So you see, I'm surprised he's speaking about roads. Look. He
mentions the Adesu town roads.
Again, contradiction. He says to you that nothing has been done. When you tell him that some portions of the road has been done, he says to you nothing has been done. When you say no, I know some portions of the road has been done.
I know a bit of that area, so I've seen a bit.
When you
but
challenge
even
him,
so,
Jaffa,
it cannot be perfect.
Jaffa, when you challenge him on the fact that he says nothing has been done, then he tells you that, oh, it's just a small portion within the town. What is small? Who defines small?
However, he mentions, though, that if there's a portion that will facilitate transportation of goods and services, and that is the area that is not complete or done.
By whose justification? His or the engineers?
He mentioned the area.
And I'm saying that, I mean, if he had, in his earlier submission, said that nothing had been done, when he was pushed further, he admitted that some work had been done. I don't think that would be the measure or the standard by which we will measure whether the roads that have been done are actually beneficial to the people. But again, I'll be shocked that anybody from the NPP who want to speak, especially coming from the Eastern region, who want to speak about cocoa roads and the cocoa sector when he spoke about agriculture. What has been the plight of cocoa farmers in the Eastern region? Forget about the fact that we have increased floor prices astronomically like it's never happened before under President Mahama. Forget that. That cuts across the whole country. But in the Eastern region, the roads that connect the farms to the market centers. You want us to talk agriculture? Yes. The farmers farm the cocoa. How do they get the cocoa from the farms to the market centers? Cocoa roads are ongoing. 3 billion Ghana cedis is being invested in cocoa road improvement projects. It's going on in the Eastern region. The roads are being worked on. Again, for those farmers who have had trees above 30 years, the government has introduced a seedling program where we're producing close to 60 million free seedlings, which we are giving to them. And these seedlings will reach maturity in 3 years, free of charge. Under this administration, an initiative of President Mahama in 2011, when he was vice president, was the free fertilizer program under Cocoa Board. This year again, free fertilizer is going out.
Okay, but Mr. George, I know very well that the fertilizer program has been fraught with some challenges. We've had reports here on Joy News about how people have diverted the fertilizer.
Are we going to blame His Excellency the President for that?
I'm not saying that, but all I'm just saying is that in an attempt, as you seek to take credit, you must acknowledge that there have been challenges in implementing the policy.
I think that position is most unfortunate. I think that it's most unfortunate that you want to hold the president responsible.
No, I'm saying that you must take responsibility for the fact that the policy hasn't gone down as well as you would hope it would.
No, Jaffa, I think that the policy has done a great deal of work if you speak to the farmers. If you speak to the farmers who have been beneficiaries of this free fertilizer, they know how much they used to pay for fertilizer under the SYL MPP administration. Even when they had money, they couldn't have it. Now this administration is making sure that they get the fertilizer and get it free of charge. Yes, you have some unscrupulous elements who want to take advantage of the fertilizer. But again, I'm sure your media house has carried reports of prosecution of people, including an NPP executive, an NPP parliamentary candidate in the Western region, was arrested for having hoarded free fertilizer for farmers. So if we're talking about saboteurs who are sabotaging the free fertilizer program, one of the top people who was arrested and prosecuted and jailed for stealing and hoarding free fertilizer meant for farmers was an NPP parliamentary candidate. He talks about 2 projects in the Green Book.
In the Kade area.
Again, I'm surprised that a second regional vice chair will not know which project specifically. I'm challenging him. We have some few minutes, at least 20 minutes or 19 minutes for the end of this show. He should send a message to his constituency chairman there to point out which projects they are. There are no such projects of that nature.
So there's no project in Kede.
Every project captured in the Green Book is an ongoing project. We will not put pictures, and when we put pictures of projects that are now commencing, it is clearly stated there, it is an artist impression. The impression he seeks to create, that we have put phantom projects, and he doesn't know where we found the pictures from, is disingenuous, and I put it to him on this program that is an untruth. The only way he can prove me wrong is by mentioning which specific projects. I have my copy of the Green Book here. If he so wanted, I can lend it to him to point out the projects.
All right. And it's Joint Caucus on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. You can send your messages to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Joy News on TV. Our WhatsApp line is 056 0800 003. Mr. German, Mr. Ofriata, beg your pardon.
Even the Mr. doesn't come in.
Okay, you like Nana Afriyie. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, since he's offered, I'll accept. Thank you. Now,
but I'll take it at the end of the show.
Because I have my own copy, I don't have a problem, George. Now, here's the issue. The issue is that you don't tell people things you haven't done.
Or completed. Why not? Because if the project is ongoing, there's nothing wrong with that.
Don't create the impression that it has been done. The universities are talking about...
An artist's impression creates an impression it's been done?
You see, an artist's impression is one thing. When you go to the villages and you try and show them an artist's impression, what are you telling them? Because the microphones of Caucus and the cameras of Caucus aren't there. So what they're telling them is not what they're saying on this show. What they're telling them is not what the book is saying. The book might say artist's impression. What they're telling them is that these things, we've done them all. They are good. It's not true.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Anyway, you're a politician. It takes one to know one. Would you do that on the flip side?
But you see, well, at least as far as I know, the MPP doesn't do that type of politicking. Now, the reality is that there's politics and then there's not telling the truth. We're talking about not telling the truth. And I'm saying, when you have an artist's impression and you go around telling people that it is real and exists, there's an issue.
Okay, let's give Nana Afriyie time to look for that.
Oh,
but we have some visuals
okay.
still of President Mahama in the eastern region, and he was on tour for 3 days. He visited the chiefs and people of Afriyie. He commissioned a structure there for the assembly. He also went to Odumasi Krobo. He was hosted by the chiefs and people at Durba. He talked about the roads and that he would wrap up construction on them. He also, talked about, or should I rather say, outdoored the ferry. We knew that the ferry was coming. I guess we just didn't know when. So deep in the night, at about 11 p.m., President Mahama sat on this ferry together with his entourage or delegation, and I understand they were on that ferry for some 2 hours deep into the night. And if you're on Facebook, I'm sure you'll see some of the pictures there. And essentially, this is the second leg of the Accounting to the People tour. So the first one was in the western region. The second one has been in the eastern region. So we are 2 down. We have 8 more to go. Nana, any luck?
Yes, I've come close to the page. Well, while we're on it, on the matter of the water projects, for example, the fact is that those were projects that were set up and ready to be done. You happened to be in power, and so you had to finish it. That's a reality.
The ones that have been commissioned.
Yeah. So,
but what about the ferry?
What
about the ferry? I mean, that was a desperate need. Remember, there was nearly an accident somewhere in the Pru area, and people had to be rescued urgently. So obviously, this relieves the people.
You'll notice that where things are actually there, I haven't thrown a challenge. You'll notice that. Unless the only challenge I threw there is, because we know what kind of government we have today, you need to query the money spent, because they are known. And even today, Mr. Collins Dowda is reported to have said that the costing of their own infrastructure is extraordinary. And they don't.
Where did he say that? Because I'm not privy to that information.
It was reported on the news today. I don't know whether it was your station, because I listened to you and City FM, so I can't remember which one. But it was stated that he was crying about, I think it's even in the papers, that he was crying about the fact that he doesn't understand how, when it comes to government projects, the prices are so high, and yet when private people do the same thing, one, the prices aren't as high, and two, the quality is better. And he's talking about his time. So we need to find out, for those that exist, what's the real cost of these things, and what have we paid versus what did we get back. There's also the fact that of the $37 billion or so that's been borrowed over the 8-year period of the NDC government, only about 22% or so of it is being accounted for in these infrastructural things that are being bragged about. So what's happened to the rest of the money? So we need to figure out all those things. But here's the page.
Money is a totally different conversation,
yeah,
I guess.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But here's one. Infrata, 6-unit classroom block for Infrata. That's Ayenciano. Please call and check from Ayenciano. The next one is the ICT center at Kofi Pari. Please check.
So you're saying the pictures we are seeing are not real?
At least these two. And I'm ready to admit if I'm wrong, but I've been told that these don't exist. So you can check. So those are the realities on the ground. Now, the other key thing is that when you've borrowed money to do all these things, it's our money. You haven't done anything extraordinary. When you've finished the Nsawam Suhum Road, and you haven't finished, you've only done that portion that was a problem. You haven't done, it's no mean achievement, it's no big achievement rather, is what I want to say. Because you're supposed to have done it anyway. It's like a security man comes to work and he says, oh, I've come to work, and so we're supposed to clap for him. Meanwhile, he's been hired to come to work. The teacher walks into a classroom to teach, and we're supposed to clap for the teacher for coming to work. It is the new things that you bring into governance that makes you extraordinary. And what is new that has been brought, that secures the Ghanaian, it makes our lives better. We've grown. It's not just development, there's also growth. What have we done that's showing that we've grown? And I'm arguing that when you come to the Eastern region, the evidence is that nothing extraordinary has happened. Okay, if anything at all, as I call it cement and concrete politics, and they're filling their pockets. Big issues about exactly what is making people's lives go. Because why isn't Mr. Mahama going to Nkoko to see the nurses trainees? Why? We know there's an issue about nurses trainees. Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bame have talked about it, and they don't see the reason why it should be stopped. They need to be taken care of. Teacher training, teacher trainees. What's happening with them? There's one in Chebi. Teacher training colleges. Why aren't they going there to brag about what they've done for teacher trainees? We're talking about education here, and we tend to think that education is only to do with building classroom blocks. We haven't thought about all those students who, even Nana Akufo-Addo had been president, would have had a free SHS education, whether their parents could afford it or not. Now, all those children whose parents couldn't afford it couldn't go to SHS from even just take this last 4-year period. Now, what does that mean for us? We're short on improved human resource skills. We're short on a whole host of things because of that. And a lot of them are going to register. They're registering, they're putting their names down to vote. And we're going to reach out to them because the NDC government and Mr. Mahama have failed to look at their lives. So all those realities are there.
Okay.
And we're going to, and these are,
yes, you'll get a chance. So let me just take these text messages.
We'll talk about chalk.
Let's take these text messages, and then Sam George will respond. This one from Aziz in Wa. Good evening. Jifa, the NDC government has done a lot for this nation. There are clear examples in the Upper West region, like the regional hospital and many more. This one says, Jifa, good evening. Ask Nana Fedria what they use the money that they accrued from the primaries for, and that's from McDavid from Aflao. This one says, I'm really enjoying the show. Both parties are great, but I want to know what both parties will be doing for teacher training colleges. We are really suffering. That's from Bash in Upper
I
West
dealt with that.
in
I
Wa.
can repeat it if you like.
This one says the NPP government expanded health facilities at a rate unprecedented in our history. Only in 7 years, our administration constructed 205 new hospitals and clinics, including 310 key hospital facilities in the Eastern, Volta, and Northern regions, 48 clinics upgraded to hospitals, 33 hospitals and clinics underwent rehabilitation, and it goes on, and that's from Mystic from Hohoe. This one says, okay, just says, hello, I'm watching the show. And those were some of your messages. This one talks about JB Dankwa saying, rest in peace. That's from Mashud from Abilingpe. Yes, Mr. Sam George.
You know, it's interesting that Nana suggests that the intelligence of people in rural Ghana is not as sharp as those in urban Ghana.
I don't think he said that, sir.
He did. He says that when we go to the rural folks in the villages, we show them the green book and we tell them something else. And so we are deceiving them. And that is to suggest that they are not smart enough.
He didn't use those words. Those are your words.
Well, that's to suggest that the people in rural Ghana are not smart enough to be able to decipher when they're being told the truth or when they're not being told the truth. And that's why in rural Ghana, they lose miserably, because they have a certain bourgeoisie belief that they're superior to the people in rural Ghana. However, I'm sure that your network goes very well into rural Ghana, and rural Ghana is paying attention. They are smart. I won't insult their intelligence.
Can you address the issues
it's one of the issues he raised. Again, he says that basically we shouldn't brag because we've taken so much loans, and taking loans and to just construct stuff really isn't any big business. That's not true. We saw 8 years of President Kufuor. We saw that the fact that even to contract loans is not small business. It's not easy. Not every government can do it. You remember the IFC loan that ended up in a hairdressing salon? A whole government of Ghana was going to sign a loan, and the address for the body loaning us was a hairdressing salon. It took a journalist to expose the government. You remember the CNTCI loan scam? So it tells you remember the loan agreement that was signed in German by our finance minister, Osafo Mafo, Honorable Osafo Mafo. So it tells you that getting loans is no small business. So he shouldn't underplay that the erstwhile NPP administration bungled the whole process of even securing loans.
Okay,
again,
so you have to complete your submission
again,
in about a minute and a half.
It comes to the issues of allowances and says that
the teacher training allowances. Unhappy.
Listen,
but that's a fact.
As we speak today, teacher trainees have been given tertiary status. Teacher trainees, at least at the last check, close to 2,600 of this teacher training trust fund, loans like every other tertiary student. At this point in time, he spoke about the fact that he spoke about manpower, human resource in our classrooms. When we scrapped the teacher training allowances, the teacher training colleges have been able to admit 60% more. So we're producing more manpower.
Okay, that may not be in doubt, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the teacher trainees are still not happy that they don't have their allowances.
Well, you can't have your cake and eat it. What we have taken is the best decision. And you see, again, the teacher trainees must hold the NPP to strict proof. When they say they will restore the allowances, where will they get the resources from? They should tell us, like they just bandied the free SHS around. He said there would have been children who would have benefited from another's free SHS. Let's ask him, in which classrooms? Would they have had the free SHSs under trees?
Okay, and on that note, unfortunately,
President Mahama is building 123.
I'm not even going to get a chance again.
No, but I'm just responding to what you said.
But he's responding to you.
So if you come in, I'm
he's
going to
raising new
respond.
issues.
Because we have just 1 minute and we have to wrap
give
up.
it to me. Because at
no.
least let me answer the money question.
Okay, the
at least
money
let me answer
question.
the money
Okay,
question.
quickly.
We will not be paying judgment debts that are unwarranted. We will not be giving monies to people who don't deserve it. We will not overprice things, and therefore we will be able to get that money.
Governance, you won't answer with
over
this,
2-3 billion that has been misspent by the NDC government under Mr. Mahama alone.
2-3 billion.
It will not.
Right, and gentlemen, the two of you on that note, we have to end. Our topic today has been the Eastern Region politics as John Mahama accounts to the people there. Our guest, Samonate George, NDC parliamentary candidate for Ningo Pram Pram. Also, Nana Frederick Oforiatta, who is the Eastern Region's second vice chair for the NPP. Thanks to you for watching. Join us again next week, Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. for another interesting and educative edition. My name is Jifa Bampo. Have a good weekend.